Manager with Electronic Data Solutions. And for the next 20 minutes or so, we're going to give you a nice overview on the Trimble R1 and R2 GNSS receivers for use with smartphones and tablets. In terms of our agenda for today, we'll talk a little bit about who Electronic Data Solutions is. Obviously, we'll get into the Trimble GNSS receiver as well, the R1 and the R2 models. There are several software options out there for the R1 and the R2 when it comes to placing that software on your phone or tablet. We're just going to focus on a couple of those today. We're going to focus on Esri Collector and Trimble TerraFlex software. There are some other options out there, but when it comes to the main players in that field, it really is Trimble and Esri at this point. And then finally, we'll do some Q&A if we have some time at the end. In terms of our company, Electronic Data Solutions, our company is based in Jerome, Idaho, and that's in the kind of the southern part of Idaho, just across the Snake River from Twin Falls. Our company was started by Linda and David Dean, really kind of one of those, we start the company in our garage and we actually built it into a real living, breathing company. They've been in business for almost 30 years now. Folks like myself work in remote offices. I'm based in Sacramento, California. We also have offices in Utah, a couple of offices in Idaho, Missoula, Montana, and then in the Pacific Northwest, Portland, Oregon, and Olympia, Washington. We work on all kinds of different facets when it comes to data collection devices. We really, truly are experts when it comes to GIS and GPS solutions. When it comes to working with mobile field crews and deploying multiple options out in the field, we've got a real stronghold there. We do water quality, water level equipment. We're also getting into the unmanned aerial surveyors, otherwise known as drones, software development. We're really all over the place when it comes to these types of solutions. What I generally tell my customers is anytime you're thinking about data collection devices for use in the field, whether it's water level, water quality, GPS, telemetry, whatever the situation is, please call us first. And if it's something where we can't find it, as people that have been in business for almost 30 years, we'll point you in the right direction. I've, in many cases, even sent some of my customers to my competitors because I know if I help them, they're going to come back to me whether they're looking at one of my competitors or not. So as I mentioned, we do all kinds of different things, and I'm not going to go over line by line what's on this slide, but we do everything from vector control for mosquitoes to methane sniffing in landfills to now getting into the aerial surveyors. We're getting a lot into services when it comes to ArcGIS Online. So we're really all over the place and really well suited when it comes to data collection devices. In terms of my background, I am a graduate of Washington State University. I've been married now for going on 13 years. I have a 4-year-old son, Ethan. He is my pride and joy. That's his picture right there. I've actually been in the environmental collection devices industry for, I think this slide's actually wrong. I think it's 16 or 17 years now. And I've been with Electronic Data Solutions now for 9 years, a small business, and a really great company to work for, and that's kind of why I've stayed as long as I have. Because this is a recorded webinar, I'm not going to get into the poll questions today. Generally, our poll questions are set up for when we have a live audience. We'll ask poll questions about what type of device are you using, what's most useful to you in the field, what do you like about these particular products. But because this is a recorded webinar, I'll probably just skip right through those, and we're going to get into specifically the Trimble R1 and the Trimble R2 GNSS receivers. So one of the questions that I get asked all the time from my customers is, why has Trimble gotten into what we call the mobile technology department? Everybody knows Trimble from the bright yellow box like you see in that lower right-hand corner. They're a company, it's a multi-billion-dollar company. Their bread and butter has always been GPS, but it's always kind of been these handheld devices or survey equipment or ag equipment. So why all of a sudden do you get into this sector of the business where you're going to be pairing these up with phones and tablets? And I really think this slide kind of describes exactly why Trimble, or quite frankly any other company, would want to get into that. More and more people want to bring their own device to work, and more organizations are either deploying phones or deploying tablets, and obviously there's probably some security involved with that, but they can be a lot less expensive. People are comfortable with the technology, and let's face it, just about everybody you know has either a smartphone or a tablet, so it just makes sense for a company like Trimble to get into this part of the market. And this slide, again, kind of illustrates that. What's really cool about the R1 and the R2, especially the R2, is that world between mapping grade and survey grade equipment is being blurred a little bit every single day. Believe it or not, when I show you some information on the R2, there's an R2 unit that you can purchase that will give you 1 to 2 centimeter accuracy on your phone. That's unbelievable. When you think about, 10, 12 years ago, people were wearing backpacks that made them look like astronauts on their back. They had to occupy a position for 15 or 20 minutes, and once they finally got their position, it was 2, 3, 4, 5 meters. So the industry obviously is changing. Things are getting smaller. Things are getting more accurate, and obviously that's why Trimble wanted to become a part of that. The Trimble solution, the R1 and the R2, will work with just about any operating system. It's going to work with iOS. It's going to work with Android, and it's going to work with Microsoft, whether you're talking about Windows or their Windows Mobile or whatever the situation is. It's going to work cross-platform with all of these different operating systems, and that's a big deal too, because if you've got some people deployed with iPads, some people deploy with, say, a Galaxy Note, some people deploy with laptops. The nice thing about especially some of the software solutions that we'll look at is they're cross-platform, and you don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff anymore. If somebody prefers an iPhone over, say, a Galaxy 5 phone, something like that, it's not a problem anymore. But why the need for high accuracy GPS? I mean, come on, I got my phone, and when I use Google Maps, it'll find the house, it'll find the building, it'll find whatever I'm looking for. Well, the problem with your phone is it is notoriously inaccurate when it comes to collecting GPS data. And I think this slide illustrates that very well. Let's say that you're using your phone's GPS system. It's actually tracking satellites in the sky. That phone is still going to be off by, 30, 40, 50 feet. When you're using Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever you're using, Waze, it really, it's easy to find a building. It's easy to find a house. So when you're only asking it to do that, that's pretty simple. Take a look at the Wi-Fi position. If you're counting on a Wi-Fi hotspot or you're counting on Starbucks or something in your house to get you a position, now we're talking about something where that can be off by as much as 74, 75 meters. That would put you nowhere near where you need to be, especially if you're looking for something that's underground or something that's maybe flush mount in the middle of a field. And then if you're strictly working off the cellular network for positioning, don't even bother. We're talking about more or less 600 meters in terms of accuracy. It might be a little better than that, but what I'm saying is in most cases it's going to be way, way off for what you've come to expect or what you're looking for. There are a couple of reasons for that. One is, what network are you on? What's your coverage area? What type of antenna do you have in that phone, or what type of antenna do you have in that tablet? All these things make a difference, especially for something like multipathing. And that's when that satellite signal is coming down, it's bouncing off rocks, it's bouncing off of buildings, it's bouncing off of cars, and there's a built-in time delay with that, and that could really mess up your position. The nice thing about most of the Trimble products is they have built-in multipathing error rejection. So they build all that right into their units so that you know you're getting a true measurement when that signal does come into the handheld or the backpack or whatever it is you're using. So now that we've talked about that a little bit, given you just a little bit of background information on why you don't want to just use your phone when it comes to trying to get an accurate position, let's talk more about the Trimble R1 and the Trimble R2 GNSS receivers. I'm going to start with the R1. This is the one that's been out for several months now, and it's one that I really like. It's extremely lightweight. It's got kind of a hard plastic shell to it, so if you drop it, in most cases, you're going to be just fine. It's about the size of a deck of cards, and quite frankly, it's about that heavy too. It's not a super heavy object. It's something that really is designed to be slipped right into your pocket if need be. And the antenna is set up So it's actually located at the top of that unit. If you want to follow my mouse here for just a moment, as I scroll back and forth, this is where the antenna is. So if you have it in your pocket the right way, your antenna is actually facing up. It's very lightweight. You could have that thing in your pocket all day and completely forget about it. And as I mentioned, really, really rugged for what's going to happen in the real world. It can also get wet. So think about trying to use a phone by itself or a tablet by itself and it starts raining. No good. But with something like the R1, you can work all day in the rain and the snow, whatever the elements might throw at you. The R1 has a really, really simple setup. There's only one button to push. There's really mainly one port. There's only one place to charge it up. So basically, when you first turn it on and hold down the button, it's going to look for a Bluetooth signal. As long as you have the Bluetooth on your phone or tablet or laptop or whatever you're using, you'll see it on there. You'll make a connection. It's really no different than if you've got a Bluetooth speaker or a Bluetooth headset. They all basically work off the same principle, and this does the same thing. You'll see the R1 on there. You'll click on it to make the connection, and you're good to go. It doesn't take any more than just maybe 30 or 40 seconds to get that Bluetooth connection going. In terms of what that device will do, again, we're talking about something the size of a pack of cigarettes, but it's not just a GPS receiver like most of your phones. This is what we call a full GNSS receiver. That means it's tracking GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, Beidou, and the QZSS, which I believe is either the Chinese constellation or the Japanese constellation. So it's tracking 5 different world constellations through 44 different channels. And it's also tracking SPAS satellites or WASP satellites that the FAA uses to help land airplanes. So what will happen is, let's say you're tracking 12 or 13 different satellites and you're getting maybe 3 or 4 foot accuracy. If all of a sudden you start tracking one of those WASP satellites, you're going to see that thing pop down. I've got one customer who got that accuracy down to 18 inches in real time with a WASP satellite. So it's really, really incredible in terms of the type of accuracies this little device will give you. So that's the R1, very simple to set up, kind of a one-size-fits-all. It's going to be sub-meter real-time accuracy. One of the questions that I'm always asked about the R1 is, can I post-process the data? The shorter answer is yes, but we don't recommend it. We've tried looking at accuracies with both real-time and post-processed information, and in most cases, the real-time accuracy is actually a little bit better. So yeah, you can post-process that data, but you really don't need to. So now in terms of the Cadillac version of all this, that would be the Trimble R2 GNSS receiver. And again, I'm not going to hit all these bullet points, but this is almost a survey-grade GPS device. So think about that, the power of nearly survey-grade GPS right on your phone or tablet. You can get one of these models of the R2 that'll get you down to 1 or 2 centimeters of accuracy. It does require a subscription service, which I'll talk about here in just a couple of minutes. And it also would require either a backpack or a range pole. The profile of this is a little bit different than the R1. It's more rounded. It's a little bit larger. It also has a rechargeable and replaceable battery. So there's a slot for that, as you can see kind of on the right-hand side of this particular slide. So it's a much more robust unit. And again, you can use a standard Trimble mount for this, or a Seco mount, or whatever you have in terms of a range bolt to just screw that right in. But this is not something that you'd want to carry around in your hand all day. Like the R1, the R2 is really one button. You turn it on, it seeks out a Bluetooth. Once it's connected to the Bluetooth, you'll get a nice green light on there that says, okay, I'm connected. The Bluetooth will kind of blink off and on for you, and you are on your way. There are no wires. There's nothing to connect this. It's all done by a Bluetooth. So even though you may be using a range pole or you may be using a backpack unit, you're still going to have a lot of freedom. I'd say especially with the backpack unit, you're going to have almost the exact same type of freedom you would have as if you were using something else. So it's very, very convenient, especially that backpack unit. But if all you've got is the range pole with the mount, then I would probably just use it that way. For the R2, the configurations are just a little bit different, and I'll get into a slide here in just a second that would show you the different configurations. But a lot of this has to do with us asking you, the customer, the right question. Generally, a webinar like this is kind of designed to whet your appetite. I mean, we're talking about going through this information in about 20 or 30 minutes. When we can have a phone conversation with you, talk about your application, what are your accuracy requirements, what type of price are we looking at, what are you going to do with that data, where are you going to dump it, who's it going to go to, who are you going to share it with. You've got this whole range of questions that we need to find out before we can kind of get you into the right model. But this is a good slide in terms of showing you the different types of accuracies and then the different types of devices and software that you can use with this. The main software that we're going to be talking about is TerraSync software, or TerraFlex software, I should say, and also the collector app, TESRI. This is a little bit better illustration of the different models and the different types of accuracies that you can get. And most of this kind of depends on whether or not you're interested in getting some type of a subscription service. If you're just interested in real-time sub-meter accuracy, the R1 or the basic R2 will give you all that. But if you're looking to kind of step it up a little bit, and maybe you want 50 centimeter accuracy, maybe you want 10 centimeter accuracy, maybe you want 3 or 4 centimeter accuracy, you can get that with the R2. So think about that. I mean, that's pretty incredible that you can get down to almost centimeter accuracy with this particular device if you have it set up that way. So we talk about subscription services. We're talking about Trimble's RTX service. So again, real time, no matter where you are on the face of the earth, you're probably going to get sub-meter accuracy, but let's say you want to step that up. There's a couple of different options. There's an IP network, which would be great if you're around areas that have good cell phone coverage, or if you're going to be out in the middle of nowhere, you can use a L-band satellite, and that'll give you coverage, again, pretty much across the entire world. This slide shows you where that RTX subscription covers and where it does not. I've had the EPA in San Francisco, California use this in Guam with the RTX subscription, and it worked just fine there. So we know that it works across the world except parts of Asia. Looks like maybe parts of Russia, Iceland. As you get up further north, it looks like it's going to have a little bit more difficult of a time. Also, Alaska does not look like it's covered on this map as well. So let's say that you're interested in the subscription service. Well, how much of a hassle is it? It's no hassle at all. You call us, you give us the part number of the particular R1 or R2 that you have. We send you an activation code. It takes about 15-20 minutes. You get the code, and bam, the firmware pops in, and now you have that subscription service. Everything that Trimble does now is kind of done through the internet, so there's no more, hey, we're going to mail you the CD. Unfortunately, that also means that there's no more, you can take that CD and burn it off on like 30 computers. The way Trimble has things set up now, it's kind of a 1-to-1 ratio with that, and they've got a pretty good way to figure out if people are trying to work themselves around that. Again, we're going to skip the poll questions and just continue on with the webinar, but quite frankly, even though it's only been about 15 minutes, we're just about wrapped up with this. I do want to very quickly talk about kind of the two main software options. The first one is TerraFlex. So if you're a Trimble user, this would be the kind of the cloud solution for you. You create forms in the in-sphere Trimble cloud. And I got to tell you, forms they're kind of fun to create. It's a lot of drop and drag. You type in what you want. I want to move here. I need to move that there. Oops, I forgot to put something there. So if you kind of like that very simple drop and drag scenario, you can move things around the screen and put things in the order that you're comfortable with, or more importantly, the order that your end users would be comfortable with. And once you've created that project and assigned it to users, you can just zip that out. So maybe you want Public Works to have this particular project, but you don't want your survey crew to have that project, or you don't want your water crew to have that project, or whatever. You set it up so that only specific users will see that project. And if you're the GIS coordinator or GIS analyst, you're the person who has complete control over how that's going to be used and who's going to receive that information. Now, I also want you to notice I'm not doing a demo of the TerraFlex software here. There is a 30-day free trial that you can get off of Trimble.com, and myself and the other sales reps are more than happy to help you, walk you through that, help you set up a project, watch you sync it, all that kind of good stuff. Again, this is kind of a 10,000-foot overview of this solution designed to whet your appetite. Hopefully we can have a conversation on it. That is really, in its most super simplistic way, the way that you use the TerraFlex software. So I don't have any special fancy graphics for the Esri collector. I'm pretty straightforward about Esri. If you're an Esri house, if you use ArcGIS, and especially if you're using ArcGIS online, most people like that collector app better. It's a little bit more robust. It's got a few more options on it, but I will tell you that every day I get an email from Trimble saying TerraFlex now does this, TerraFlex now does this. So they're kind of neck and neck right now. It just kind of depends on what your house is most comfortable with. I happen to like them both in terms of ease of use. TerraFlex has that one made, but in terms of I want my end user, my field guy, to have more of a robust experience. I want to have a little bit more control. Remember that with Collector, you can pull information directly out of GIS into ArcGIS Online, and just like you can with the TerraFlex solution, send that off only to the people you want, have that information synced immediately, sent to a website, sent to GIS. There's all kinds of really cool stuff that you can do with this. This was kind of the main, if any of you attended the Esri UC conference in San Diego this year, really this was a huge emphasis from Esri and a lot of the Esri partners is how to make the most out of this specific application. So I'm not going to read this word for word, but I've got a couple of slides here on some of the comparisons and contrasts between the two softwares. What I'll tell you is this particular slide is about 30 days old, and there's a really good chance that somewhere where there's a no on this, it's probably a yes, because the information is coming out so quickly, and both Esri and Trimble are working so hard to get this updated so that everybody can work it, that some of the information you're seeing on here may be incorrect at this point. I try to do my best to kind of keep up with it, but when you're getting so much information from these two big companies, it's kind of hard to keep it up in the form of a slide. I'll just keep this up here for about another 10 seconds, just so you can kind of scroll down and find the features that you think are most important to you. And then, like I say, we're just about ready also to wrap up our webinar for the day. Again, we're going to skip the poll question. In terms of information, my email address is Shaun, S-H-A-U-N, @electdata.com. That's E-L-E-C as in cat, D as in David, ATA.com, and I cover all of California when it comes to the GPS solutions. If you're looking for water quality, water level, acoustic Dopplers, I actually cover the entire West Coast for our company. So again, that's a very high-end overview of the Trimble R1 and R2 GNSS receivers. We hope this has whet your appetite a little bit so that you'll give your sales rep a call, ask a few more pertinent questions, as we will ask pertinent questions back to you, trying to gather as much information as we can. As you saw on one of those slides, there's a lot of different options here. You want to make sure you get the right option. So if we can spend 15, 20 minutes with you on the phone, get those questions answered, kind of find out what your price range is, what your accuracy issues are, we can in general help you find the right solution. So hope you enjoyed today's webinar. If you're not familiar with electdata.com, you can head to that website and see a schedule of some of our other upcoming webinars as well. Have a great day, everyone.